My name is Ramirez-Rosa, and I am so proud to serve as the General Superintendent and CEO of our wonderful Chicago Park District. Our Chicago Park District is 600 plus parks, 241 plus field houses, 70 pools, 3,000 year-round employees, 3,000 seasonal summer employees. We are the largest provider of arts and programming in the city of Chicago. Because of the work that the Park District does, our city is healthier, safer, and happier. And this is an extremely important part in our district. As this slide says, it is Chicago's Red Park. And so it's incredibly important that as the Park District makes decisions around where we're going to invest dollars, what we're going to build, that we engage in planning. So before budgeting can happen, before construction can happen, planning has to happen first. And it's incredibly important that when those important planning decisions are made, that the community, the end user of these spaces are front and center. Because planners can have the best plan in the world that exists in their mind, but if it doesn't work for the people that bring life into that space, if it doesn't work for the people that are going to use that space every single day as their front yard, or their gathering place, or their protest place, or the place where they're going to have the next big event, then it's not going to work. And so what is happening here this evening is so incredibly important. It's part of the Park District's commitment to community engagement, to participatory processes, to democracy. So I really want to thank our Park District staff for the role that they have played in overseeing this process. I, of course, want to thank our design consultants for all the work they have been doing diligently to get us here. And most importantly, I want to thank you all, because this process could not work without your active participation. So I'm so excited to be at this stage of this planning process. The decisions that are made here tonight, input that's received here tonight, will guide investment and construction in Grant Park for the next 20 years and will impact us for generations to come, because we know that what happens over the next 20 years will be felt for hundreds of years moving forward. So thank you so much. One last point of personal privilege is, the Park District doesn't just do participatory processes around planning. We just launched participatory budgeting. As a result of big events hosted in Grant Park, like Lollapalooza, like Sueños, there are now dollars that are available by the community to allocate. So we have a table back here. That gentleman in the black polo. If you would like to learn more about participatory budgeting, if you would like to be part of that process, which we're going to launch here very soon, you can speak with him after the end of this meeting. Don't ask these folks questions about participatory budgeting because they won't have the answers. But basically, we're going to involve the community in deciding how these dollars from big events that are hosted in Grant Park should be spent in Grant Park moving forward. So that is going to be a different meeting that will occur in the near future. But we do have someone here from the Park District that's available to answer questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our design team to take us through the process tonight. Thank you.
Okay, next slide. So, the meeting purpose today. The meeting purpose is a couple of things. We want to update you on the engagement process today, where we are, where we've been, and where we are today. We're going to present the framework, guiding principles, collective vision, and vision statement. We're going to recap community engagement feedback that actually helped us design these concept ideas. And then we're going to get to the workshop portion of this meeting, really what you're all here for. And what we're going to do is we're going to present 11 concept ideas out of the 5 zones in Grant Park. We plan to capture your comments by that little kit that you guys all got, your sticky notes. As we are talking through the design options tonight, we're not going to stop, but we want you to jot your notes down on the sticky notes with the slide number on the sticky note that you will really want to jot your comment down before you forget. Label it with the slide number. The boards are at the back of the room with the corresponding slide number on the boards themselves. So it'll be easy for you to jot your notes down while we're talking, take it back there at the end. And the beauty of it is the design team members, we will all be standing in the back by the boards. So you can continue the conversation. The notes are for you to remind yourself what you wanted to talk about. So that's the way we see that we can get this feedback from you. We also want your thoughts on time frame. So we gave you sticky dots, 3 colors. Orange, I had show and tell. I forgot to show you the show and tell. So here's your sticky notes. And okay, nobody's laughing. And then, all right, thank you. And then here, the dots. So we have colored dots that are going to tell us the time frame. Do you want, with each of our ideas back there, tell us your thoughts. Is this a real priority for you? Do you want this short term, meaning at the beginning of the 20-year plan? Do you want this midterm? It can be in the middle of the plan. Or are some of these ideas you think by the end of the plan? We want your dots. So because that's going to inform the priorities, okay? And what that does is that helps us write that into the plan. So I also want to remind you, we'll leave plenty of time at the end, like I said, so we can work around the boards. And you can also, if you don't get to talk to us at the boards, don't fear. You can upload comments to the Chicago Park District website. There's a QR code at the end, and we're going to have some handouts that you can have. People have been entering comments, so you can always do that. I just want to remind you, and Carlos also reminded us, that the framework plan is not a construction plan. I see it more of an idea plan for the next 20 years with timeline priorities identified and defined. So when funding does become available, that we can provide, or the Park District can provide future plans for development improvement based on your feedback and our report.
I wanted to touch on our methodology and process to date. Many of you have been involved in Grant Park for a very long time, even the 2002 plan or the current council. You can probably recall, and for Carrie's bubble diagram, you've seen that there's been a lot of engagement. We've been comprehensive and collaborative in the engagement process. We also started out by gathering the information of what is existing. We wanted to understand the existing conditions of the park in order to understand the concerns. We also gathered information from you regarding the concerns and the priorities that you felt are needed for the park. And with those, that input, that information, we started developing the concepts that we are presenting today. So everything that you're seeing today is a result of the input that you provided. So we encourage you to continue providing input because that helps us continue to develop these ideas. Ultimately, there will be a single framework plan with the best ideas or the ideas that best cover or address the concerns that the community has brought forward. And that will be the framework plan. Next slide. So guiding principles are the pillars or the columns, the supports that frame the framework plan and help us move forward together with an idea that we can then use for the next 20 years. So our framework plan has been based not only on the findings from the 2002 plan, but also from the insight and vision from you, from the Chicago Park District priorities and mission, as well as from best practices in the planning world. So they are listed here. Our 5 pillars are equity, sustainability, health and wellness, thoughtful stewardship, and identity. And I'll give you a quick summary of what that means. Equity is really about having an equal experience for everyone that comes to the park. All ages, all identities, all abilities. And it's a balance of program and access to spaces. Sustainability refers to creating social, environmental, and economic health for the park, and access to nature away from traffic. Health and wellness refers to health, safety, and welfare for all visitors, reconnecting the park with the goal to eliminate the pedestrian and vehicular conflicts and encourages movement throughout the park so that there's exploration and awe and excitement through the park. Thoughtful stewardship refers to a park that is responsibly managed, that has year-round economic opportunities, and that activates points throughout the park. So there are destinations north, south, in the middle, for all times of the year. And lastly, identity is the reinforcement of the park as a public place of recreation. That's really important. We wanted to have enhanced comfort, facilities, seating, shading, lighting, safety. We want to improve the lakefront access from the 2002 plan, moving it forward. And we want a positive experience for everyone that comes to the park. That's ultimately the goal. So your input, if you go to the next slide. Your input from all the previous engagement has led us to the collective vision. And the collective vision helps us guide the ideas forward together. So for those of you that have attended the previous sessions, you might recognize the circle diagrams. We've collected information based on topics of preservation and landscape, recreation, events that happen in the park, mobility, and safety and logistics. And we gathered your concerns, the possibilities, the results from the public input verified the desires and the priorities of what can happen next. And although there are many different voices, many different opinions and priorities, we were able to find a common ground and a common thread for the park, which is summarized here. It's a little bit blurry, but essentially what we heard from everyone is that you want the framework plan to re-envision, reimagine the park as a place that is safe, sustainable, connected, inclusive, flexible, and dynamic, that provides economic opportunity, that is rooted in its legacy and its history, but also looks forward to a future that reinvigorates the park for decades to come. So these principles really provided the shared vision that helped us create ideas that you'll be seeing tonight.
What's in front and center, a park that celebrates its historic beginnings while prioritizing its natural beauty. And today, the post-it notes that you have, we want to continue gathering that input. Make sure to write down the slide if it's relevant. And the next slide. Community or recreation. So, recreation, we have spaces that provide flexibility for our recreational activities today and in the future. For events, a world-class destination that balances economic vitality with the shared values of the community. And again, we've gotten so many amazing ideas, and in the following slides, you'll see how these start to develop. So with mobility, an inclusive park for all, with safety and logistics, a safe and connected park.
Those are all actual comments.
Those are all actual comments. Yes. Okay, so this pre-assessment, again, the sticky notes, right, are for, we want to hear your feedback, and we're gonna, once we're done with the presentation, please keep, or during the presentation, please write your thoughts down, because we're gonna keep going. And then we're gonna take these sticky notes and put them on a map back there that most of you have seen. And don't forget to write the slide number if it's relevant.
So the question is, you want to read that?
Oh, sorry. Yes, thinking ahead, what is the most important issue we should address in this 20-year plan? So we want to write this down in the sticky note and
Right, one or two words on a sticky note. There's the big map back there, we'd like you to place it on the big map, so just one or two words. This is our in-person wording this slide on.
Word ball.
Right. Give you a moment to write one or two words, and then the big map right back there by the Grand Park Advisory Table, that's where you're gonna put that sticky note.
One of the first things that we need to do is really understand how the park works today. The park is over 300 acres in size. It is a huge park, but really, ultimately, it's almost composed of smaller parks because there are lots of divisions and separations with transportation through the park. So it might not be noticeable as you're visiting the park, or maybe it is, but about 20% of Grand Park is covered by transportation, whether it's roads, METRA, rail lines, etc. And that is a pretty large percentage for an actual city park. So that is something that we wanted to bring up. We also heard that as a big park, it is hard to get around, especially because it is difficult to cross intersections when there's a lot of traffic. Although the diagram here shows a 5-minute walk in that smaller circle and a 10-minute walk in the larger circle, the reality is when you're walking along the sidewalk, crossing the street, crossing multiple lanes, it does take a lot longer than 5 or 10 minutes to traverse the park. So it is a lot to ask for people to come sometimes from north to south. It is a long way. So we also understand that there's conflict between traffic and pedestrians. So aligned with CTA's Vision Zero, we are also interested in having zero conflicts between traffic and people.
Maria, I would just say that these are the root issues that we determined were and ended up being at the heart of many of our proposals addressing issues like connectivity and scale, and how to facilitate movement, pleasurable movement throughout the park.
And Dom and I will be taking turns presenting the ideas to you. So thank you, Dom, for jumping in. So the input that we gathered from you helped us develop 2 ideas, 2 concepts. You'll see them here on the left, stitching and bridging, and ultimately the thought of the combined solutions between stitching and bridging. And I'll tell you what those concepts really mean. So stitching recognizes the divided park by transportation and accepts it, determines, okay, there's going to be traffic and streets in the park, how do we make those better? So is there a way to narrow lanes? Is there a road diet solution to help minimize the traffic lanes or slow down the traffic? So stitching is about recognizing what's there and improving it. Bridging is about going beyond that and separating people from traffic as much as possible. So whether it's having pedestrians go above traffic, having cars go below pedestrians, or some other way, we are looking for ways to physically separate pedestrians and traffic, which again is one of the biggest concerns we've heard over the years of engagement. And ultimately, we think the solution would be somewhere in between. Some areas will be benefiting from stitching concept and some from the bridging concept. And you'll see comments or ideas for both of those concepts through this presentation today.
Stitching is kind of thought more of as mending.
Mending, correct. Like a foot. So, as mentioned, this is a really large park. It's 300 plus acres. So in order for us to really organize this presentation and talk through the ideas in a logical way, we have divided the park into 5 sections, like 5 chapters of this presentation. The first chapter is the Parkwide Elements, and these are elements that will happen throughout the park. They're not specific to any area, but they really affect the entire park. So most of them are related to transportation, whether it's road diets, water taxi, access, METRA lines, or thank you, or what to do with Columbus Drive, how to make that a better street. So, starting with DuSable Lakeshore Drive is one of the most important prominent roads on the park. The stitching concept proposes improvements to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. In this proposal, we are not reducing the number of lanes, but we are proposing to narrow the lanes in order to, maybe I should be pointing with this, in order to make room for a planter area, which is an area of refuge for people that are crossing 10 lanes. So it provides a little bit of a relief from crossing, running across, so they can stop here. It also proposes that the planters that are there now be actually raised in order to provide a better separation between traffic and the sidewalk. It feels a lot more comfortable to have an actual physical barrier between you and traffic, and it also provides places for sitting along the area. So starting from the left to the right, slide, you see we are proposing tree-lined streets throughout, improvements with lighting.
It's the lane side, on
this side. Lighting, the planter in the middle that separates the lane from provides protection for a pedestrian, as well as banners and better lighting for the street. And then the same on the other side with opportunity for sitting and benches. Anything to that?
You got it?
You got it? Okay. Next slide. So these two other important streets, this is Columbus Drive that runs right in the middle of the park. In this case, what we are proposing is the same tree-lined streets and same opportunity for sitting, but we are proposing that there is a dedicated bike lane both sides of Columbus, that we have provided an area for loading and unloading of a dedicated bus or a dedicated trolley that moves people north to south in the park, so that that long distance that we talked about is much easier to traverse, especially in the winter and in hot days like today, where people have a access north and south with a trolley or a bus that is dedicated to that. And then,
Bus will run from Navy Pier to Union Campus.
thank you, yes. And then our lanes in between. In this case, Columbus Drive does not have an island in the middle because we're also proposing for Columbus to be a flex street, which means that for certain occasions, you can close traffic, and then that can serve almost as a plaza or an event space as it functions today, continues to do that. Perhaps there's a different kind of pavement that delineates the fact that that is more than a street, it's also a place for people.
And just note too, the other thing is introducing parking. So parallel, most of this section here is parking. There's bulbouts at the intersections, facilitate crossing the streets, and then there's also these little islands to service trolley stops. It might also function as the bus stops too.
You said there was parking?
That's a new parking?
Yes.
Parking
Yes.
on Columbus Drive?
Yes.
It's always dark parking on Columbus Drive right now.
That's new. This would be parallel parking.
It's not new north of the fountain, it's new
Right.
south of the
This would be-
fountain, but it used to be south of the fountain before, so it's new in the sense that we re-established.
Yes.
So this is,
Underneath the park.
Oh, yeah, is that gonna be like that for like 100 years?
I wanted to remind everybody, so make sure you use your sticky notes, we're at slide 17, and we will be happy to discuss your comments on the boards in the back. And we just want to make sure we get through the presentation, so that's why I'm trying to.
yeah, thank you, there's a lot more to cover.
Yeah.
Thank you for the pointer. So this is Monroe Street, Jackson, and Balbo. These are very similar streets, traversing east to west. And similarly, tree-lined streets, benches, lighting, etc. We have a dedicated bike lane on either side, parking and bulb outs for pedestrians who feel safety, which what this does is that it narrows the amount of the distance that you have to cross from a sidewalk to the other side. So it provides a much shorter distance to cross the two lanes. And then in the middle, the area of refuge, which is also a planter. In some areas, we're also proposing speed tables at these streets, Monroe, Jackson, and Balbo. Particularly, there's a lot of mid-block crossing that happens because it's convenient to cross in the middle of the block. So finding solutions to prioritize the pedestrian at those locations and help to eliminate or avoid or eliminate altogether any conflicts between traffic and people.
The speed tables could happen at every intersection, and then at Balbo and Jackson was the thought in order to reinforce that primary access, which right now you cannot go continuously, you always have to move to the perimeter and then back to the center.
Yeah, I have a question.
South, as well as east.
So is this a park project or a car infrastructure project?
It's a park project.
Okay, this sounds like a car project.
You said car project? Or no?
No, it is a park project.
It's a car project.
Yeah, there happens to be streets on the park. So we're starting with the Parkwide Elements, which includes all of the streets in the park. Then we're moving to the park, further in the park.
And much of this is part of that mending strategy. And so at the root, these are throughout the park. Bigger moves will modify these to some extent and override them.
So, as I explained, because the park is so large, we've organized this presentation and ideas in 5 areas. We've already talked about Parkwide Elements. The rest of the sections are depicted here by color. We'll start with the historic center, historic core in the middle between Balbo and Balbo and Jackson. And then we'll move south to the south end of Grand Park in the pink. Then we'll do the orange, which is the north end of Grand Park, and we'll finish with the lakefront, which is the ribbon or the line that connects north to south.
The historic core is the park at its most formal and includes Buckingham Fountain, the adjacent spoke rooms, and rose gardens. Across Columbus Drive are the presidential courts, and then Congress Plaza adjacent Michigan Avenue. These are separated from one another by Ida B. Wells Drive and the METRA tracks. Proposals here include the restoration of Congress Plaza, conversion of Ida B. Wells to a flex street, and the provision of a direct pedestrian connection from Buckingham Fountain to Lake Michigan. Next slide, please. Congress Plaza is currently separated by Ida B. Wells, a 6-lane roadway which prioritizes people driving at speeds of 30 miles per hour or more, through and not necessarily to the park. The presence of trees, pedestrian and scaled elements, and wayfinding are few here. In response to concerns we heard regarding connectivity and scale, accessibility and friendliness to people walking and biking, the Welcome Center and Flex Street concept proposes converting Ida B. Wells back to a flex street to calm motorized traffic and make it more user-friendly to people walking and biking in the park. The flex street would eliminate curves and lane markers, and in their place provide other cues such as bollards, planters, and paving patterns for directing motorized traffic. Trees for shaded walking and seating, art installations, and wayfinding would further people's enjoyment of this primary entrance to the park. It is understood that some people who simply use the drive to access destinations beyond the park will look for alternative routes to bypass.
And we should mention that Congress Plaza Drive remains as a connected street for access for buses, etc.
Drop off, bus function, yes. Here also a welcome center with an attendant. Current park information updated daily and restrooms is proposed to further activate the space and welcome people to the park. Next slide. This is a variation on the first proposal, a similar concept. Would provide a more traditional separation between people driving or biking and people walking along Ida B. Wells. It would calm motorized traffic by narrowing and reducing the number of driving lanes, by adding parkways with grass and trees to make this primary entrance to the park more friendly to people walking. In this proposal, Congress Plaza would be wholly dedicated to pedestrians, with the introduction of a fountain complementary to Buckingham Fountain, and a series of lawn terraces or steps with additional trees to walk people to Grant Park from Michigan Avenue and provide another convenient place of respite immediately adjacent to the loop.
So in either case, is this new plaza over the cross street?
So go to the next one. We'll see both side by side.
This is it.
So
Repeat that?
Is this plaza you're talking about, is this going over Congress Plaza Drive?
No, it's eliminating it. Oh, the first one eliminates it. This one maintains it, converts it to a flex street.
So this one still allows for traffic to travel
Yes.
through at a slower speed. This one eliminates it and allows for Congress to be the main connector back to Iowa. These are just ideas, side by side.
Yeah, so these are just ideas, we're not just ideas, you know what I mean? A and B, right? And we welcome your inputs. Option A on the left and option B on the right. And that's what the boards show towards the back and what the dots are for. So we want you to, once again, use your sticky notes and include the slide number for your comments. And with the dots, they're color coded on what you think should be short-term, mid-term, or long-term. So please continue to write your thoughts down.
What color is short-term?
Short term is green.
Okay, on the board.
It's on the board. It's on
I
the board.
believe short term is green, mid-term is blue, and long term is orange.
Moving on. DLSD Deck-Over. This is between Buckingham Mountain and Queens Landing. Sorry. The fountain table and Queens Landing are currently separated by DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Now an 8-lane expressway which prioritizes people driving at speeds of 40 miles per hour and much more through the park. Originally conceived in the late 19th century as a boulevard for pleasure driving, this now egregious interruption of people's natural desire to move freely between the park and the lake, particularly at this central location, has been a design and safety concern since the emergence of the outer drive along the lakefront in the early 20th century. In response to this, the concerns we heard regarding connectivity and accessibility and friendliness to people walking, the DLSD Deck-Over proposes a depression of Lakeshore Drive between Balbo and Jackson Drives. In place of an expressway, park visitors would be provided with lawn panels for recreation and trees for shaded seating. New pavers to match those of the fountain table and new ramps to ensure accessibility would complement the existing stairs and provide uninterrupted pedestrian passage between the fountain and lake. It is understood that there are some technical challenges to this, which we will be able to address.
So you're going to talk about that, where the cars can go to. Where will they go, veer off? So
They don't veer off.
They don't
They
like
actually go down, starting at Balbo or Jackson. They start to move down, and by the time they get to the extent of the spoke rooms, they'll be low enough to then pass over an extension of the park. So in this proposal, the park itself maintains the current grades, but eliminates the traffic, pushes it below the park. And so the whole park extends from Balbo and Jackson. Or excuse me, the impression starts from Balbo and Jackson, but the park extends just north and south of those areas.
So are those bridges,
Effectively, this is a continuous bridge. But the thought is that when we look at another scheme that is actually a bridge. The idea here is, and the reason we call it a deck-over, is it's really the park continuous for the extent of the mountain. So only at the periphery would one be able to, and even these would be provided with a barrier to the traffic, sound and vision. So the thought is that this really becomes separated from the traffic of the DLSD. This is a section here. You can see the entire fountain, the existing steps. This is where the cars were, and so they've been pushed down, replaced with a reflecting pool, and then let's go to the next slide. There's a slide.
Oh, yeah, we'll zoom out so we can see that slide number 23.
Yeah, so this is a little closer section. So the fountain is on our left, the lake is on our right. What you're seeing in the background would be a barrier where the deck-over ends, and if that wasn't there, you could look down at the traffic. But here, proposing we're limiting the extent of your vision and hopefully mitigating the sound that would come from that drive.
where's the water table?
We'll have to waterproof.
Yeah.
Drivers still have access to Jackson. No efforts made to permit the access.
Not in this. That's for the road guys that we're looking at earlier. So we would look to improve those crossings, but not eliminate those roads. So this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is it's really more like. So we call this the lawn, bridge, and lay steps. It's an alternative proposal which would also provide uninterrupted passage for people walking between the fountain and the lake while maintaining the continuity of the lake on the bike path. So I should mention that both of these maintain that at grade in both cases. The difference here is that this, you can see, it's much narrower, so it doesn't take, and it also stays at the height of the fountain table, it doesn't step down. So it extends completely across the drive. Once east of the drive, then we would provide new steps and ramps to get down. We end up with this terrace here, which is well above Queen's Landing, under which we could tuck concessions and restaurants and such.
Is that another bridge? Okay.
This is it's not a, yes. Excuse me, no, this is an elevated platform, a terrace to terminate Jackson, but at this point, we're looking at it as a speed table. So we don't actually start to move down until you get past that.
So the depression of the cars really happens just at the bridge.
It starts prior, but it doesn't have to start quite as well.
So cantilever don't.
It's not actually a cantilever, but yeah, effectively an idea that it's relatively open underneath.
And the cars are still
Cars are still in the same location, just a little bit. Okay.
One of the things to mention is that those options that depress the traffic below either the decking or the bridge eliminates one traffic stop for the vehicles that are just trying to get through the park.
And we don't, we all enjoy, some of us enjoy, when we are motorists in the park, coming and going through the park. It's fantastic. So all of these, to some extent, are compromises. And in this brief moment for motorists, it doesn't have to be a dark, dank tunnel. We can animate that space with color and natural light.
So as we continue these conceptual conversations, again, please use your Post-it notes, and let's continue to let the design evolve with your input. So we have the option A, the Deck-Over, and option B, the bridge and lake steps. Slide number 26.
Speed it up. This one. 27?
Spoke rooms and fountain table. So I'm sure we all know where those are. We're not in the picture for you here. These are just some images to suggest how the space might be animated. The spoke rooms, which surround Buckingham Fountain and the fountain table itself, are relatively underutilized in the absence of organized events. This is understood to be a function of the park's issues of connectivity and scale to be addressed with the various proposals throughout the plan update. In response to specific requests to activate and make these spaces more interesting, and thereby more popular and secure, shaded seating in the form of cafe tables, and even lounge-type seating, movable, could be provided to encourage congregating. Well, go back. We're also thinking, again, art could be a big piece, rotating, to keep people interested in these spaces fresh.
And these ideas are relatively temporary. They do not affect the historic aspect of this historic core at Grand Park, but it activates and provides spaces for people to get to and sit and enjoy.
I know we're running late, but what is the last one? It looks really cool, but I have no idea how long it is.
This,
Yeah.
So, market.
Just like a
So this is my host.
got it.
all right, so we're moving on to South Grand Park next. This is the pink area, south of Balbo. And in general, what we heard about this area is that there was interest in activating the south end for the neighbors to the south, improve pedestrian connections, balancing recreation and festivals and events, and then some thoughts about what to do with the previous Columbus statue location. We'll move on from there. The existing conditions are to the left, and just to orient you, this is, there's the softball fields to the north, this is Upper Hutch. The new pickleball courts,
Columbus.
yeah, new pickleball courts, where I think most of you know where those are, and then just south of that is the maintenance facility for the park.
Is the Grand Park still there, or you guys have trash?
The Grant Park, dog park.
Oh, no,
park,
it's still
sorry.
there. Yeah, the dog park is still here, correct.
Is
So-
that- I'm sorry, I'm not sure where you're pointing to.
This is
Here's
actually
where
where
it
it's
says
all
now.
in this proposal, it stays there.
This is next to the pickleball.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So what we heard was, consider reducing the number of softball fields to accommodate other sports. We heard about improvements to the roads, and we talked about for pedestrian connections, the need for comfort facilities, particularly around the pickleball courts, and then spaces for families needed on the south end of the park. So what we propose here is a consolidated area for the softball fields, a new connection, pedestrian connection here at 8th Street with potentially basketball courts. It could be another sport. The idea that we mix up the opportunity for sports here. Road diets on Columbus Drive, they're here. New restrooms and concessions, and the new community park for the south neighbors, just south of the maintenance facility. The dog park does remain in place for this option.
That's right.
What happens to the skateboard park, is that?
It's still there. It's further west. So this is one option. We'll show you another idea, which is slide 29. This is slide 30. This is similar location, so I'll just maybe orient you a little better. Robbie, if you don't mind going to the left a little bit. So we're just zoomed in a little closer to the pickleball courts. Here
We
you
know
see.
this is an old picture.
Yeah, it's an old picture. Here's the maintenance facility, here's the dog park around, the METRA lines that run north and south, and then back here is the skate park and the Agora section. So again, we heard the same comments about this area, we're just proposing slight different ideas for this area. So here, what we propose is a new connection here at 9th Street, pedestrian connection, to get people east and west on the park. Road diets again on Columbus, south or to the south page. New tiered seating at the 11th Street pedestrian bridge, which is here. There's lots of attention on the skate park, and every time you walk by there, people are standing and looking over. So it provides an excellent opportunity to provide tier seating and allow for that to be a destination in the park. We have a new community park now south, decked over the METRA line. So where the lines intersect along here, this is a proposal for a deck over to provide that south community with a big family park. And then that also allows us to expand the dog park, larger, probably twice as big around the maintenance facility.
And what's the cross street to that? I see Columbus. But I'm just trying to orient myself.
Yeah, this is 11th
Expand
Street.
dog park, what
What's
is
9th?
9th, 11th,
So that would be a new connection at 9th.
9th and 11th.
Thank you.
And if you zoom out, this is slide 30. We'd love to hear your thoughts on both of these similar area ideas.
And so option A is slide 29, option G is slide 30, and, yeah, we're gonna continue our conversations and concepts, with your input.
Okay, so this is now the lower Hutch. Just to orient you, you see here the softball fields, festival grounds, essentially, DuSable Lakeshore Drive to the left. And so what we heard about this area is that there was interest in having traffic calming measures surrounding the roadways, that it is unfortunate that whenever there's a festival, it takes a very long time for the field to heal before people can use it. So producing or providing solutions for that. We heard that it's also difficult for people that are playing sports to access, with the baseball baseball bats or softball bats, etc. So access to sports and access to also staging for events was something that we were asked to address. And accessibility, ramps, improve pedestrian connections. So our proposal on the right maintains this as a large area for large gatherings. This is where currently Sueños and Lollapalooza happen. So understanding that that is still the largest place in the Grand Park where people can gather, we would then propose to improve access all around for both sports, any kind of sports can happen here, but also for festivals, with ramping that allow access to a terrace on this end. We would also address the speed on Balbo by providing a speed table. This is the idea of the mid-block crossing. People cross here all the time, so providing an area, a much safer connection at Balbo and allowing people to connect north to south along the middle of this area would be amazing. And of course, better drainage, making sure that whenever the park is used for large events, it doesn't take that long for it to come back to the community to use for sports.
Did you mention the introduction of concessions and restrooms in this
I didn't
park?
really, but yes.
And the other thing too was to remove the programming of programmed activities, so that when the park is closed down for the events, so this becomes the locus for the festival rings for large events, that there wouldn't be active programming that's displaced. In between, it would just be free recreation, wide open. So in the interest of, again, making that more attractive, activating it, and getting people there who is not an event, with the improved walkways, as we were saying, they would also have seating and then restaurant scale lighting too.
And restrooms.
Yes.
Okay, we are now moving west along Roosevelt to Michigan Avenue. So just to orient you, this is Michigan Avenue south here, and this is Roosevelt east to west. This is the southwest corner of the park. This is the southwest entry to the park. This is where the Agora sculpture is and has been located since 2006. You can also see here the skate park and then the metro lines running north to south. So the comments that we heard from the area here was that there's general interest in improving the Michigan Avenue rooms and having those be better defined as destinations, potential places for people to gather, tailored to what is happening around the neighborhood. So there was a desire for a better defined and more engaging south entry to the park. And there was a need for community play space on this side of the park into what Maggie Daley does for the north end of the park. And better pedestrians go around. So what we propose here is a new park at this location that becomes the new gateway for the south neighbors into Grand Park. It would provide mounding, areas for planting, gardens, play nodes and exploration. This would accommodate anybody with any age, any ability. And the idea too is that perhaps there's a way to allow people to see from different viewpoints. So maybe there's bridges or there's some fun exploration that can happen in this area. It's a place for families and for gathering. So this would identify this south entry as a new iconic park for the south neighbors. And this is slide 33. So your thoughts on the idea of the south gateway would be great. And I think lastly for this area is the Columbus area, so the Columbus statue area. So the current conditions are here. This is a really well planted or landscaped area. It has beautiful grown trees. It is a high point on the park. It is also surrounded by high traffic on all three sides, so something to do with that. It has easy access for those going to the museum campus and the soldier field. So providing better connectivity is something that we heard. We also heard that there was a desire for this area to really contain a more culturally inclusive element in the park. So if you switch over to the right, what we are proposing here is to maintain that plane. It is very usable, it's very high, it has a lot of potential. So we would assume that the personality of this park would be more of an arts park. So interpretive installation, we would want to improve access for pedestrians, for those with mobility concerns, and we would allow for there to be areas of respite or terraces along the way where the park could also showcase part of their art collection in this area. So it would be our interest, or what we heard from the community, is that there's opportunity to enhance and showcase the park district's collection with pieces that embrace the stories, the people, and the narratives of communities that have outdated overlooks. So this could be a really beautiful destination. Again, on the way to the park, to the museum, on the way across, maintaining the tree growth and all the natural areas that are there now.
North Grant Park is home to the Art Institute and the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. It is also home to the iconic, outdated, and therefore underutilized Petrillo Music Shop. To the north, adjacent to the beloved Cancer Survivors Garden and a short walk from Peanut Park with its recently rejuvenated tennis and pickleball courts, is Maggie Daley Park, the northern terminus of Grant Park, and one of its most popular destinations. Proposals in North Grant Park include the reconsideration of Butler Fields to facilitate the connection between these iconic elements, while also accommodating the ball fields that would be displaced by lower Hutchinson's in consideration as a park's festival grounds. A new pedestrian bridge is proposed over DLSD's S-curve to connect North Grant Park to the Lakefront. Okay. Butler Fields. The Petrillo Music Shell, through a combination of disrepair and refining infrastructure, no longer attracts musicians or accommodates public events, has become an impediment to the active use of public field. In response to requests to replace the music shell, provide more visibility for the Art Institute, connection and view to the lake, and make Maggie Daley Park more integral to Grant Park, the Butler Fields proposal levels the lawn panel and provides playing fields with viewing terraces at each corner of the park. That could include infrastructure for their use as performance and exposition venues when not intended for sport. A formal north-south pedestrian promenade in conjunction with the mid-block Monroe Drive speed table would connect the historic core to Maggie Daley Park. And the former Butler facility at its southern extent could be developed as a plaza with restrooms and concessions and shaded seating along with a stair and elevator for convenient access to Maggie Daley Park as well as the garage that's beneath it.
Sorry, Don, I tell you, we're running late. So
Okay. An east-west pedestrian promenade in conjunction with the Flex Street on Columbus Drive between Monroe and Jackson Drives will connect the Art Institute with the school, the lake, and increase the school's visibility to the public. So generally, this is all flat. These lawns are flexible, so this is intended to be wide open so it can be used as a single space as well as community and provide views to the audience.
What slide is this?
Yeah, 36.
Thank you. But the use of the Flex Street there too, is to facilitate that connection to the Art Institute. Here's that bridge. Most Chicagoans, and certainly all users of DuSable Lakeshore Drive and Grant Park, are all too aware of the crowds that gather at the intimidating intersection of Lakeshore and Monroe Drives. Many may be equally unaware of the underutilized hill between DLSD and the Lakefront pedestrian and bike paths, with its scattering of short trees providing neither shade or otherwise affording the spectacular panorama of harbors and lakes which the hill could provide. In response to requests to address this disconnect and pedestrian bridge from Peanut Park to Monroe and DuSable harbors is proposed. It would span DLSD at its widest point and access the hill at its highest point overlooking the lake. It would provide various ways to adjoin the existing adjacent walking and bike paths. and opportunities to linger on the hillside and take in the scenery of the lake and harbor activities would also be provided.
What green space would that take from Peanut
Yes.
Park?
This is actually existing. It's just underutilized and we're
Peanut
this
Park.
really make a
If
space.
that bridge went in, what green space would that take away from Peanut Park?
It actually doesn't, it actually picks right up off of one of the paths in Peanut Park and then would land at the top of the hill. So we're not regrading this other than providing these terraces for steps. So we're not displacing any park here, just reorganizing it.
Don, where is the bike connection from maybe here into Maggie Daley? Because there's an existing bike path that people take. Where is that?
We're leaving, again, we're not changing the
But where is
topography.
it? Show on the slide
Oh.
what it is.
Past here and here.
I think
There's
it's
one a little farther north.
It's farther north.
Where is it on your slide?
It is not.
It's not. It's not on your slide, no, it's there.
It's further north, it goes into the new east side.
But it
Yeah,
would be
right,
maintained.
so you got pink right on the shore, which is the pedestrian part, and then you got blue there, half is the bike path.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what exists today.
So all of that would be maintained.
So, again, we just give people other opportunities in congregating and connection of Monroe across. And also, we know that's pretty level crossing as well. At Randolph, you can even find it.
Where does that bridge end on the other side? It starts where?
What other path?
It picks up on one of the existing paths in Peanut Park.
Oh,
So how does that address the intersection of Monroe and Lakeshore Drive, that it starts and ends at a completely different place?
It doesn't completely, it's intended to relieve that congestion, to give people, so instead of everybody having to migrate to that corner, there's another opportunity to cross.
So it's just only pedestrian bridge or shared?
That is like, that's only that. And we could incorporate bikes too. It would be, maybe they would have to walk, but it's not for motorized vehicles.
But like the veranda for the bike path is,
Say again?
a veranda for the doing that with the bike path,
Yes.
and then they're forced into cancer, they can come straight from upper Randolph straight over.
Yep.
there is a board in the back, it's 32, I did,
37.
31, I'm gonna be standing there, so you guys can come talk to me in detail.
All right, so we are moving on to the last section, and I'll go quick. This is the lakefront section of the park. And what we heard is better activation and the lakefront trail, better destinations, and places for people to rest and visit. So moving on to the next slide. So you'll recognize this diagram, perhaps. This is Buckingham Fountain, just to orient you, and we're talking about this linear north-south connection that is the lakefront. This is Queen's Landing right in the middle. So the existing conditions include a linear path, lots of landscaped green spaces, and of course the dividing line, which is DuSable Lakeshore Drive. So what we heard again is that people wanted to better connect between the park and the lakefront, have a much clearer connection to the water. We heard that the Queen's Landing fountain was important to maintain and to better define, better access and accessibility, installation of facilities and seating, and a desire to maintain the clear separation between the bikes and the pedestrian pathways. So what we are proposing here is, yes, to maintain those pathways, and this is the case on two slides that you'll see, this one and the next one. But to also improve access via water, the same way we're proposing the trolley along Columbus inside the park. This would be water traffic or water taxi, taking people to other destinations along the water. A couple of spots, improved seating and access throughout, and the creation of a couple of terraces, possibly at the end of the terminus of Jackson and Balbo, to provide a different vantage point and more activation along the length of the park, as well as better facilities and concessions throughout. So this is slide number 39, and the continuation of this is on the next slide, which is slide 40. And on the left-hand side, we're talking about the south end of the lakeshore and as it turns the corner. So you might recognize the pavilion that is currently there now. It's very inaccessible. In fact, I think it's fully limited to people. You'll see the bike or pedestrian lanes and the lawn angle versus the sloped lawn in that area. So again, what we heard is that people think this is a beautiful destination in the park. They really enjoy this location, but that there is a lack of comfort stations and facilities, places to sit and rest and stuff, and a lack of definition for what happens north and south on this pathway. So what we propose is that there are opportunities to stop and enjoy and gather along this path, as well as just stroll. So just different options for gatherings, lawn area, perhaps a play area, and then at the very end of the terminus here, where the pavilion is located, that becomes a deck, a different material, a destination with places for people to sit. The lawn could also be stepped for there to be different kinds of activities, and just a better definition of what can happen on that area. So this is slide number 40, and I'm sorry that we're rushing, but we're almost done. Couple more slides.
For as long as the park has existed, trains have had a conspicuous presence in it. As their purpose and presence has diminished, so too has their imposition on the park. The replacement of rail yards by parkland, and most recently at the turn of the century, the decking over of the rail trench just north of the park, between Monroe Drive, Randolph Street to make way for the Lakefront. Next slide. In response to requests for Grant Park to also provide amenities which Central Park affords its residents and visitors in New York City, with its naturalized landscape and resulting escape from the noise, busyness, and formality of the city, the METRA forest line, through an extensive and eventually complete decking over of the railroad trench, would afford such opportunities to Chicago's residents and visitors with continuous tree canopy and meandering walking and bike paths. The forest line would also restore the 8th Street pedestrian bridge and provide an additional pedestrian bridge along 9th Street from the local memorial. We referenced those earlier Upper Hutch proposals. All of this would further increase the porosity and convenient accessibility of the park from the village. Next slide, please. Let's look at this in its totality. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. By linking directly to Millennium Park, people walking and biking could move relatively unimpeded and undistracted by motorized traffic between the northern and southern extents of the park, from Randolph Street to Roosevelt Road and back. Along the way would be venues for exercise, recreation, respite, and contemplation in the form of workout stations, playgrounds, and reflecting pools. There's a sculpture garden and court adjacent to the Art Institute, serving as the welcoming connection to Millennium Park and the park.
This is slide number 43. We'd love your thoughts on this.
So, my name is Michael Lang. I'm with the Chicago Park District. We really want to thank you all for coming this evening. We have deliberately left time, and we want to make sure that you all have this opportunity to come to the boards, interact with our design team, have an opportunity to ask questions, kind of get into a lot of the weeds and details that we presented here today. This presentation, some people have seen it already. It is, we virtually did it yesterday. It is located on the Park District's website. There's a link here below that you can get to it. You can scan the QR code as well. We also have a flyer that you're able to leave with you today, so that you're able to like get access to that as well. So.
space, and then for people to sit space, sitting right next to the hallways buffered by some different spaces, and that's a great
Feels like